I think that if there is a question which bothers the world, it is the Iranian problem. It is a combination of nuclear aspirations, regional hegemony, maybe even beyond, mass destruction, weapons of mass destruction, and religion, as demonstrated by the Ayatollahs. In order to understand the mindset of the regime, which is the problem, I'll try to show you some of what they say about themselves. Just as an opening, I would say that nuclear weapons, as for themselves, are not a problem. There are several states in the world which hold nuclear weapons. And they pose no problem to anybody. However, everybody talks about the nuclear program of Iran, and maybe some still talks about the nuclear program of North Korea. But Iran actually is in the focus, not because of the nuclear weapons as for themselves, but because of the regime. And this is the problem. Because just imagine if there was today a democratic or even Shah would remain in Iran, I'm not sure that the world would say anything about another state, in addition to Pakistan, to India, and some other states in the world which might have nuclear weapons or nuclear capability, and the world is not so bothered with them. However, what makes Iran different in this issue is the regime. And this is what worries the people, because when people are directed by Allah, who knows what Allah will tell them tomorrow to do with his weapons. And I'm serious. Let me show you how they, or what they think about themselves. Please show this Khomeini. This is a pamphlet which was found in southern Lebanon, 2006, by a soldier who was there and thought about me, and brought me some stuff, important stuff, which he printed, stuff which he found in southern Lebanon. He happened to be my son. This folder is a biography of Khomeini, the one who established the Iranian Revolution. And on one of his sites, they published this folder under the title Sutur Nur, means the lines of light, saying that if you read this folder from the lines, you will see the light. However, if you look at the graphics of this image, you can see something different or something additional. A light comes from this blue environment and enlightens his head, his eyes, his mouth, his chest, and his hands, saying that the light, which is the divine light, enlightens Khomeini's minds, views, sayings, feelings, and finally deeds. Everything is enlightened by the divine light. He is guided by Allah. Allah keeps him from making any mistake. He is, what they say, ma'soom, means infallible. He is in the madrege of a prophet, in the status of a prophet, according to what they believe. And this is where the danger rests. Please show the another one. This is another image which they disseminate. Ya Mahdi on the right. Oh Mahdi. Mahdi is the Messiah of the Shiites. This man, who is made of light, and this is the source of the divine light in the world, has some kind of discourse with the person on the left, which is Khamenei, the leader of Iran today. Before it was Khomeini, the former one. Now it's the current one. He is in some kind of discourse with the image on the right, in the Mahdi, who is the divine light in the world. Now this man on the right, he was the 12th descendant of Ali bin Abi Talib, the one who founded the Shia. He disappeared sometime in the 10th century, and he is still alive, and he hides in a cave in Central Asia somewhere. Nobody can see him, nobody sees him. And one day he will come back to enlighten the world and to lead the world and to show the world the divine light of the Shia. Then all the infidels will convert to Islam and all the Sunni Muslims will convert to Shia Islam. And peace will reign in the world ever after. This is, in a nutshell, what they believe and what they publish. They say it either in words or in images. And this is exactly where the danger is. Because if somebody is sure that his path is being enlightened by the divine light, that he cannot make any mistake, that he is infallible, he is in a madrega of a prophet, who are all those infidels, wine drinkers and swine eaters, to tell them what to do and what not to do regarding their nuclear capabilities? And tomorrow, when they have the weapons, Allah, who keeps them from any mistake, will tell them what to do with this. How not? It's not considerations of human beings. These are divine considerations. And this is what drives them. This is what motivates them to continue in what Allah enabled them to do, means to acquire nuclear weapons. And this is where the problem is. Because if a group of people who are sure that they are in the status of prophets, who have a direct access to the divine light, who cannot make any mistake, if they hold to nuclear weapons, who knows what the divine light will tell them to do with this? And this is where the problem is. The world senses it. So the world tries to do some things about Iran. And they don't hide their intentions. In another document which I have, original, Khamenei, this one, says clearly that Iran considers all the space from India to North Africa as their strategic background. All these states are the strategic background of Iran. I don't remember when Egypt or Morocco or Tunisia or other states volunteered to be the Iranian background. Just imagine that I declare that the bank account of Rabbi Goldstein is the background of my bank account, and I'll start disseminating checks all over the place. Go to Rabbi Goldstein for your money. Okay? But it doesn't prevent him to say that all the region, the Middle East actually, is their background or strategic background. So they don't hide even their intentions to be hegemons of the area. Please show the map. You can see Iran in blue. Iran already controls Iraq in green to the left, to a degree that, I'll just give you two examples. Iran sent some 100 snipers to Syria to shoot at those who demonstrate against Assad. Some of them, of those snipers, were caught. And the rebels in Syria put them in front of cameras to tell in Persian what they came for and what they did. And they disseminated this video in YouTube, and it created a very big embarrassment for the Iranians that their snipers were caught and they are speaking in Persian, telling everybody what they were sent to do. So they pulled them all out, and they forced the Iraqi government to send another group of snipers to kill the Syrians in the streets, because if those snipers, the Iraqi, will be caught, at least they speak Arabic. And they will speak Arabic to the media, not Persian. Okay? So this is a little sign of control, which Iran controls Iraq to a degree that they can force them to send snipers to Syria. Another thing is that Assad is paying the salaries of his soldiers and his killers and the Shabiha and all those militias who killed the Syrians en masse. Iraq is paying their salaries. Means every month they send some trucks loaded with dollars, cash dollars, and they don't do it voluntarily because the Iranians force them to do this. So I think these are two examples of how Iran today controls Iraq. Just imagine, 8 years ago, the world, 9 years ago, came to Iraq to rescue the Iraqis from the dictator, from Saddam. Now they have the Iranians to control their lives after America and other states poured so much blood and money on Iraq. The outcome is the front yard of Iran. Today, Iraq is controlled by Iran. Iran has clear aspirations to take the Gulf. Means Kuwait, Qatar, the pink one, and the United Arab Emirates, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and so forth. They don't hide it. And already the Kuwaiti parliament some months ago had a discussion whether to join Iran peacefully or not. Means if you cannot beat them, join them. Because the Kuwaitis have very severe doubts. If Iran takes them, if the world will come to rescue them again after the world did it in 1991, after Iraq occupied Kuwait. Today, the Kuwaitis, when they see the leadership of the world in the White House, when they see Europe with all the economic problems, they are at all not sure that the West will come again to rescue Kuwait, this time from Iran. So instead of being devoured by Iran, and they have very bad memories from the Iraqi occupation of 1991, they would voluntarily join Iran and let the world jump in the lake, according to the Kuwaitis. Many in Qatar, in the United Arab Emirates already are shivering of fear because they will be taken by Iran. Saudi Arabia the same, and Saudi Arabia is much more attractive because Saudi Arabia is the two holy shrines, two holy places for Islam, Mecca and Medina, and if the Shiites, the Iranians, are taking Saudi Arabia, they will close a circle of 1,400 years since the caliphate was taken from Ali bin Abi Talib, the founder of the Shia, and was taken by the Sunnis, or by those who founded the Sunnah. So definitely, the Gulf is a very, very attractive target for the Iranians. Another good target is Afghanistan on their east. Afghanistan today is well known as a place where very many minerals are waiting to be taken out from its soil. Billions of dollars are waiting to be taken out of minerals. The Iranians are waiting for the foreign forces, Americans and others, to withdraw from Afghanistan, to take Afghanistan almost immediately. They will take it and take advantage of all the minerals. Why not? And they know how to do it without any NGOs of human rights, without any media, and without any Supreme Court. They will do the job as they know how to take places and to hush down every demonstration which might be there. So definitely, the neighbors of Iran are the first target. Israel is also there, the small Satan, which they hate, which they don't like, which they would like to wipe from the map, as they say once and again, and we Jews cannot ignore these threats, because once we ignored it, and look what happened. Iran, nuclear Iran especially, will paralyze the world. Just like what happened with Pakistan and India. 3 years ago, there was a big terrorist attack on Mumbai. You remember some Jews were killed in the Chabad house of Mumbai. And the Indians have all the evidence that Pakistan was behind it. Why didn't they retaliate? Why didn't they do anything about this? Only because Pakistan has nuclear weapons. So India thinks twice before it tries to mess with Pakistan. Why didn't the world do anything with the dictatorship of North Korea? Again, because everybody is afraid that they have something which might be devastating, either for Southern Korea or for Japan or for others. Conclusion which the Iranians draw is that the minute a state has a nuclear weapon, nobody touches it. So it can do whatever they like, whenever they like. So for them, nuclear weapon is actually to immune themselves from any retaliation from any other state if they take the Gulf, if they take Iraq, if they continue in Afghanistan. Actually, they can spread their hegemony all over this area, including Israel. Nobody will dare touch Iran if they only have a nuclear weapon. If they succeed to do this in the Gulf, they will put their hands on 56% of the world reserves of oil. 56%. They will control the world economy, really, unlike the Jews who say that they are controlling the world. They will do it through their energy. Just imagine what will happen to states like Greece, like Spain, like Portugal, if gas prices are going up too fast, only because the Iranians want to topple Europe or to bring Europe to its knees. So definitely they will have an ability to manipulate the world the way they like. Israel views Iran as an existential threat, because when they will be able, they will do whatever they like in order to wipe Israel off the map, while paralyzing the world from doing anything by having nuclear weapons. They have another proof for this. Gaddafi, in the year of 2003, after he saw what happened with Saddam, he gave up on his nuclear weapons, or nuclear program actually. Imagine what happened last year when NATO bombed him from the air and caused his collapse. If he had nuclear weapon, nobody would dare to do anything, and he would butcher his people until this very day. So again, the Iranians are more than sure that nuclear weapons will enable them to do whatever they like to their region and to other regions. However, they work in phases. Phase one is the Gulf, Iraq, and Afghanistan, because all these states cannot defend themselves. Israel, according to some rumors, have nuclear capabilities. I absolutely don't know about this, because not my business, but there is a kind of piece of information which goes from website to website by copy and paste, that Israel has something between 200 and 300 nuclear warheads. Again, I don't know if Israel has one, but this is what is being, just Google 200, 300 nuclear warheads, Israel, you'll find it in numerous websites. And the Iranians know how to read from left to right. So, and Israel is not yet an oil-producing country. We do have some gas under the sea, yet we have to dig for it. So from the benefit, Israel is way less than the Gulf. And from the danger point of view, Israel is way much more dangerous than any state in the Gulf. This is why, in my view, the Iranians will march on the Gulf first, and Iraq, and maybe Saudi Arabia again as well, and Afghanistan in a year, before they do anything about Israel. This is why I think I said yesterday, and I say it again, I don't think that Israel will sacrifice itself today or in the foreseeable future in order to save the world from the Iranian problem. Because Iran is the problem of the world before it is anything connected to Israel. Because, and you know what, South Africa as well. Because when oil prices will start marching up because of what happens in the Gulf with Iran, it will affect the oil prices in this country as well. So this is why I think that since Iran is a problem of the world before it is a problem of Israel, Israel will not volunteer to sacrifice itself on this altar. The world says to Israel once and again, don't attack unilaterally. Don't do it unilaterally. I think the whole world hopes that Israel does the dirty job for the world. And this is another reason why Israel will not do it, especially not in the foreseeable future. Of course, Israel might ring the bell here, shout there, in order to wake the world up vis-a-vis the Iranian problem. Yet I don't see Israel acts unilaterally. Maybe Israel will be part of a worldwide campaign against Iran if there is some decision like this with other states, maybe. But only by itself, I highly doubt. And again, Netanyahu doesn't consult with me. This is the issue about Iran. I don't see Iranians as demons. They have their logic. I will never say that they are illogical. They are logical. According to their logic. They have logic that they are directed by Allah. And when Allah will decide that they should bomb somebody, they will do it. And this is the logic, and we have to understand it, and we have to see what we do with this. What can be done with this? I published it 5 years ago, and it's still valid. The world should tell the Iranians one thing, very clear and very short. Something like, guys, our honored counterparts in Iran, you have 1 week, exactly 1 week, 7 days, to load all your nuclear equipment on a ship or 2 or 3 and send it to us. In a week, we start to flatten you. Take us seriously, read our lips, and do what you should do. And don't call us, we will not call you. In a week from now, we start bombing you to flatten you with the earth. That time, the Iranians will understand that the game is over. So far, they succeeded very cleverly to drag time, to buy more time, and every agreement which they signed with the West was the basis for next negotiations, which ended in an agreement which was breached, and basis for next negotiations and agreement and negotiations and agreements. This is how they dragged their feet for 16 years. Which led to nowhere but to their program, which today is much more advanced as it was a year ago and 2 years ago. It doesn't help to assassinate here and there one scientist or others, because it became a common knowledge to a large community of scientists in Iran. It doesn't help to kill or to assassinate one of them, or two. Secondly, computer war or all these Stuxnet and the others, flames, all the other, it might have some effect, but not real. The only thing which will change the direction is a credible threat. And you know, there is a big difference between a threat and a credible threat. A threat, nobody believes. Credible threat, people start to believe you. And this is what should be given to the Iranians as one possibility. The other one is to support all kinds of unrest in Iran, with the Baluchis in the south, or with the Kurds in the north, or maybe both, with the Arabs in the south or others, the Azeris. After all, Iran is a mosaic of ethnic groups which can be dealt with by helping all kinds of groups to rebel against the central regime. This might also bring an end to this Ayatollah regime. And I'm more optimistic on the second opportunity because some 90% of the Iranians do not know how a mosque looks from within. Totally secular. I would even say many of them are against the religion, any religion, especially against the Ayatollahs. And there is good chance that with a help from outside, people in Iran will succeed to topple the regime by demonstrations, by riots, as we see all over the Arab world. Iran is not immune from that. And we saw it already in 2008 after the elections where Ahmadinejad was re-elected and demonstrations were there, and later the information came to the West that the Ayatollahs, some leaders of Iran already prepared an airplane to run away if those demonstrations continue and their regime collapses. So it is a possibility, there is a way to do it. However, I'm not so sure that the world is resolute enough to push those minorities in order to topple the regime. And this is unfortunately why we see those Ayatollahs still in power. Nuclear Iran might also pose danger to other parts of the world because they already have submarines and missiles which they know already how to launch those missiles from those submarines. They tested it and it works. The last component which they need is the nuclear weapon on these missiles in those submarines. If they succeed to merge these three components, the submarine, the missile, and the nuclear weapon, they can threaten the world from under the seas, in front of Sydney, in front of Cape Town, in front of New York, Washington, and Liverpool as well. So this is why nuclear Iran cannot be tolerated, because those Ayatollahs who are more than sure that Allah guides them and prevents them from any mistake, this kind of mindset, equipped or armed with nuclear bomb, is a danger to the stability of the world. I think that I will open the floor for the last 10 minutes. Oh, I still have 10 minutes to talk. Good. There is another something which should be noted in Iran. There is a sect inside Iran which has a strange belief. There's a splinter which came out from the Shia Islam. It is called the Hojjatieh. Hojjatieh is a small group headed by an Ayatollah named Misbah Yazdi, alive today in Iran. They have a very strange belief. They believe that the Mahdi, this hidden Imam, the light, will return to the world in one of two situations. The first is when all the people will become Shiites in the world, so he will come to reign the world since everybody believes in him. The other situation will be if the whole world sinks into a total mayhem. If all the rules, all the norms, all the boundaries in the world are breached and the world becomes a whole chaos, Allah will force this Mahdi to come back in order to rescue the world from this big mayhem. There is a midrash in Judaism which says, "En ben David ba ela bedor shekulo zakai or bedor shekulo chayav." Ben David means the Mashiach will come either in a generation which everybody is righteous or in a generation which everybody is sinful. Maybe this belief of the Hojjatieh is some kind of replica of this Jewish saying. Those Hojjatieh people, believe that these possibilities, either to convert the world to Shiism or to push the world into a chaos, much easier to push the world to a chaos rather than converting the whole world to Shia Islam. So their mission in life is to push the world to a mayhem. In the first days of the revolution in 1979, Khomeini almost outlawed them because he wanted to establish a state. Because Iran wants to be a state and to continue its plans. They don't want to push themselves to a chaos. They want to go inch by inch, step by step, state by state, to take the whole, whatever they can. They don't believe in mayhem. So he wanted to ban this group and to outlaw it. For some unknown reason, he did not. And they flourished, and they became wider and bigger. And today, they have the presidency, because Mahmoud Ahmadinejad is one of them. He believes in this worldwide mayhem. And his mentor, Misbah Yazdi, pushes him with others to this solution. Of course, Ahmadinejad has to find his way between those who do not believe in it. He is Mekarev Kitzin. He pushes the end of time too firmly. This is why others do not like him. But definitely, this sect, the Hojjatieh, is there, has influence on politics, and maybe might push Iran in the end of the day, in the end of the journey, to a mayhem, or to push the world into a mayhem. And this might explain some behaviors of the Iranians. He himself, by the way, he had an epithet named Mardeh Hezare Gelule, means the man with 1,000 bullets, because in his biography, which was published a few years ago, 2 years are missing between 1981 and 1982. Nothing is published about these 2 years in the life of Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. What happened is that he was one of the court system of an Ayatollah named Khalkhali, who was the main executioner of the revolution. Every trial lasted for 2 minutes, which was only to verify the identity of the defendant. The next thing was to shoot him or to hang him. Ahmadinejad, his task was to shoot one shot into the head of everyone who was hung up until he stopped moving. This was his role in the revolution. Some pictures which the Americans took when some youngsters took the American embassy, he is also in those pictures. Definitely somebody who would be depicted as bandit, definitely, who became the president of this state. However, as bandit as he is, and some would say crazy, I'm not saying crazy, they have very, very firm logic. The threat, the only credible threat, can work. And we have a very good proof. If you remember, they took the American embassy right after the revolution, and they caught those diplomats for 444 days, like a year and a half. Diplomats being caught, you can do it. They can. And they held those diplomats for 444 days in the days of Jimmy Carter, only because they saw that he does nothing to them. Those 50-something diplomats were released in the same very day that Ronald Reagan was sworn in office. Why? He told them guys, if you don't send those guys back to us, I'm flattening Tehran. And they took him seriously. They took him seriously because he apparently made them believe him. That the first thing which he does as a president, after he swears allegiance to the state and to the constitution, he will flatten Tehran. So they believed him, so they released the boys. So this is why I do believe that a credible threat will change Iran as well today. There are other cases where they were, by the way, another one is between 2003 and 2006, they stopped developing the nuclear program. Again, because they saw what happened with Saddam in 2003, and they were afraid that they are the next online. So they stopped it. After some 3 years, when they saw that Americans are sinking in the Iraqi swamp, they understood that the Americans will do nothing, and they continue with the program as we see today. 3 years, they were afraid. This is why they didn't continue. So this is why I'm saying that they want to survive as a state, they want to survive as a revolution, they want to survive as a Shi'i regime led by Ayatollahs who think that they are prophets. They are not suicidal, and they have very, very solid logic. This is why this logic has to be addressed with a logic, with their logic of credible threat. This is the only thing which can change them, and let's hope that the world wakes up and start reading the right things about what researchers write, and not myself, not only myself, write about Iran and the way how to address this problem of nuclear Iran. Unfortunately, the West today is sleepwalking, in my view, vis-a-vis this problem, hopes that something will happen. Either Israel will do the job, or Allah will do the job, or maybe they will collapse. I don't know. But I am afraid that the world will wake up one morning to find that the rules of the game, of the political game in the world, are profoundly changed because Iran became a nuclear power.
Sorry. The media narrative basically is being presented as everything that you didn't say. And it seems to me that's why people are not so aware of the real issue. And how is one going to go about changing the media narrative, what is presented not only on Al Jazeera, but on BBC and CNN, that are not presenting the problem in the way you are, which is consequently making people's minds up as in this sort of fantasy that it's going to sort itself out. And second of all, very quickly, the Jewish community of Iran, is it going to be a very big decision? Are they going to affect the decision, whether it's by Israel or the rest of the world? Are they going to be held as, how do you call it, captives?
Hostages.
Hostages. They're going to be held as hostages. In other words, is that going to be a big part in the play of decision that countries may make in the future with that issue?
Well, about the media, one of the things which I'm not in charge of is what the media says about Iran. Whenever I appear in the media, I say these things, which to some might sound not politically correct. This might be the reason why the media doesn't like to hear the reality about the Middle East, in other cases as well, like tribalism in the Middle East, which is still not only alive and kicking, it is alive and killing. But who cares? Who wants to hear about this? Who wants to know about this? Everybody wants to see people who love peace and want to hug and kiss each other. Okay, the Middle East is not there, but people do not like to hear about this. So this is what I am afraid of, that Iran, look, what media outlet will let somebody like myself stand like for 30 minutes to show what Iran is? I'm not so sure that there is any TV station, maybe some academic TV, or who watches it, like mainstream news media outlet, doesn't have half an hour to hear a lecture about something which they don't know about. Okay, so this is the problem. The media has to sell cell phones, advertisements, okay? So this doesn't bring rating. So this might answer, at least partially, the question about the media. Second, about the Jews in Iran. There are some 20,000 Jews in Iran. Many ran away after the revolution, but like 20,000 remained. For various reasons, mainly assets, which they cannot sell or they cannot take out the money, so they remain, hoping that if something dreadful happens, they will be able to run out, to run away from Iran. By the way, the Iranians allocate a seat in the parliament for the Jews. Another one for the Christians, by the way. So there is some kind of image of normal life for Jews in Iran, and they feel that they can work and do whatever they like. When this volcano will burn them all, I don't know. But definitely they feel that they are comfortable. Otherwise, they wouldn't stay.
I want to know if you've ever obviously spoken to any high-level American, you know, the president or obviously any of the...
Myself?
Yes.
I had a presentation in the American Congress a year and a half ago. It was planned for an hour. After 3 hours, I lost my voice. They learned a lot. I actually gave the lecture to staffers, which are more important in this case than the congressmen themselves. So yes, they asked many questions and I tried to answer. To say that the American policy vis-a-vis the Middle East and Iran was dramatically changed, I'm not so sure. However, there is somebody who comes to them very frequently and tries to change their mind. This is the Saudi ambassador to Washington. You have no idea how much the Saudis are afraid from the Iranians. Way much more than the Israelis. Because the Israelis, according to the rumors, have some kind of deterrence vis-a-vis the Iranians. The Saudis have nothing. Saudis are much closer to the Iranians, and the oil fields and pipes and facilities of the Saudis are under the nose of the Iranians. And the Iranians already occupied some islands in the Persian Gulf. And these islands actually threaten the Emirates and Saudi Arabia together. When you see the name Abu Dhabi, in the sea, there are 3 islands. Tun the big, Tun the small, and Abu Musa. They occupy those islands, and they can launch any attack on the Emirates and Saudi Arabia from these islands. Only recently, Ahmadinejad visited those islands, and Saudi Arabia and the Emirates condemned it vociferously because they see this visit as a kind of preparation to a future attack on Saudi Arabia. And America doesn't want to listen to the Saudi fears from Iran, which is way much more than the Israeli fears from Iran. So this is why, by the way, the cold atmosphere today between the American administration and Saudi Arabia, if you know. So definitely Saudi Arabia is shivering from fear from the Iranians, and yet the Americans are doing nothing against it.
Isn't part of the problem of the West that Russia and China are helping Iran?
Definitely, because any decision by the Security Council, which might have been doing anything about the nuclear program, was blocked by Russia and China. China, because China is addicted to Iranian oil and gas, and Russia is afraid for something else. And here, the globalization. Why Russia supports Iran? Of course, there is very much commercial exchange between Russia and Iran. The Russians built the nuclear electricity reactor in Isfahan, and But Russia today is afraid of something else. What Russia is afraid of is very strange. If something happens in the Gulf and the oil prices climb sharply, the Chinese economy, which already today is a shaking economy, will be even worse. Unemployment in China is poured to Russia because unemployed Chinese move to Russia to work in Siberia. Millions of Chinese already are in the central parts of Russia. Russia is afraid that any shake in the oil prices, which might be in the Gulf, because of problems with Iran, will cause a problem, economic problem in China, which will cause millions more of Chinese to come to Russia. This is why Russia supports Iran, inter alia.
Without meaning to oversimplify the matter, but we remember during the Cold War between USA and the USSR, the concept of mutually assured destruction to some extent inhibited either country from, or it was a threat that the other country was aware that any launch would be retaliated straight away and they would be destroyed. You mentioned that the Ayatollahs, etc., are logical. Sure, they get their instructions from Allah, but nevertheless, they would be aware that any nuclear attack against any country that's thought to have nuclear weapons would assure their own destruction. What do you think of that?
There are attempts to draw lines between the experience of the world in the Cold War and what might be when Iran becomes nuclear. I cannot refute those attempts because I don't have yet the evidence that the Iranian case does not resemble some things which happened 20 or 30 years ago, because it didn't happen yet. However, I must say that trying to understand the future only by taking the past and saying what will happen is exactly what happened, this is a very big mistake, especially when it comes to different cultures. When it comes to Iranian, which is totally different culture than the Russian, and of course the American one. So with all the willing to draw conclusions from the Cold War between the United States and Russia and Soviet Union of those days, I still have doubts whether any conclusion of those days can be implemented on different cultures, different times, and different abilities. I wouldn't risk the world's security only because there is a theory which might have worked 30 years ago. Look, you know that every Friday, the Ayatollah Khamenei has his Friday sermon. Do you know where he delivers the sermon? Not in a mosque, in the university. Some would say, of course, university is big, mosque is small. That's not the reason. The mosque is empty, so the TV wouldn't like to show empty scene. They would rather show a full hall with students, young students, as if the young are following the revolution. And of course, those students have to come on Friday, has to show up on Friday in the university. And the gates are closed, are locked until after the sermon. So they have to participate. Somebody is there to tell them when to applaud. And the TV brings this full hall full of students applaud to the Khamenei. But okay, those who look from outside think that the youngsters support the Rahbar, the leader. Those who know what happens behind the scenes know the reality. Look who was in the demonstrations after 2008 in the election, after the elections were forged. Definitely all those youngsters who have nothing to do with the revolution, who wants freedom, who wants human rights and the women's rights and all those rights which they are denied. So this is why according to many people who live in Iran and live out Iran, the ratio of support to the regime is around 10%, although people, of course, they would like to be powerful, but yet the regime of the Ayatollahs, very few want to see them. Thank you very much, and let's hope that the next Indaba we will talk about the Ayatollah regime in Khabar Kana, means as past. Thank you very much.